There's a good share of onstage comedy happening at Rhiannon Giddens' All-Star Roots Music Night Wednesday at the Hollywood Bowl. That much was assured, with Ed Helms hosting the evening and with Steve Martin as one of the featured guests, doing a bit of stand-up to go along with his own serious instrumental picking. But the best joke of the night came early, before patrons even got to their seats. In fact, the gag could be found at the Bowl's merch booth, where Giddens had a t-shirt on sale with a pointed and hilarious logo. The inscription on Giddens' souvenir shirts read, "The banjo, woke since the 1600s. That may not be an immediate rib tickler for everyone, but it counts as one for anyone who has followed Giddens just enough to know that reclaiming the banjo as a black instrument has been a mission for her. It's a crusade that has been both joyful and solemn, leading to untold hours of pure picking entertainment on concert stages as well as sobering reminders of how the antecedents of the modern-day banjo arrived in America, on slave ships. So when one of the night's guest stars, Kia, wished everyone a happy Juneteenth Eve, it was a reminder that there could have been no finer celebration, whether the timing was deliberate or incidental. Of course, an official Juneteenth event would probably not have included Steve Martin, although Giddens made her position clear that everybody should be able to make a claim on the banjo now, however it got here. As Martin and Helms made jokes about the unpopularity of the banjo in most polite society, there was a lot of irony to go around, considering that over time the instrument has been a fulcrum for Black pride and white embarrassment. It feels like the latter has kind of gone away. Who hasn't come around to thinking of the banjo as utterly cool in 2025? But it's still fun to joke about anyway, especially among aficionados. This night at the Bowl, which was officially dubbed by the sponsoring LA Phil as Rhiannon Giddens, American Tunes, felt historic, on top of just being a giddy good time. And it wasn't even the first time this year that Giddens has led an audience through something that felt like the stuff of future roots music lore. A show to tell your banjo-obsessed grandchildren about. In April, she convened and curated a 3-day Biscuits and Banjos festival in her native North Carolina, a gathering that, in that case, was meant solely to celebrate the work of Black roots artists. This Bowl show was more wide open in its featured billing, obviously, but didn't feel any less retro-revolutionary in its inclusive lineup. Coming just a couple of weeks after alternative country star Tyler Childers brought a banjo, among plenty of other instruments, to the Hollywood Bowl for a concert that managed to incorporate both string band music and a progressive message, it's starting to feel like, even here in Hollywood, the South is going to rise again, an ideal, Confederate-defying vision of the South, that is. After Giddens offered a sort of one-song invocation for the night, the Bowl show really got off to start with an hour-long reunion set by our native daughters, the supergroup that Giddens formed in the late 2010s with Allison Russell, Kia, and Layla McCalla. We can use the term supergroup, even remembering that when this group released its sole album to date in 2019, accompanied by a PBS special, only Giddens was really well known among group members. They have all subsequently stepped well into the light as solo artists. For anyone who has ached to see a reunion happen, they last got together to play Carnegie Hall in 2022. This was the key attraction of the night and could just as easily have closed the show as opened it. There was nothing anticlimactic at all about Giddens' rousing closing set with her own old-time band, which is currently out on tour. It was just a little bit as if Neil Young and Crazy Horse were out on the road in their prime, and then CSNY happened to kick off one of the gigs. The legacy of slavery was an overtone really, to our native daughter's lone album. So this first set naturally contained an unfair share of the most emotionally rife numbers of the night. Giddens did more than her part for that later on, too, in her solo artist headline set with her riveting signature number at the purchaser's option. But during this native daughter's performance, the quartet had the phenomenal group co-write We'll Be Dancing, which makes it clear right from the outset whose party this is. You put the shackles on our feet, but we're dancing. A few numbers later, Russell was singing an emotionally raw lead vocal on the O&D track that has made it into a lot of her solo shows, Kwashiba, Kwashiba, named for an enslaved person that the Canadian native found in her ancestry. It's as bracing a slap in the face as music gets, but, at the same time, a beautiful love song across generations. From there, things could only get less intense, but it didn't mean that, even in a lower-key mode, abolitionist Frederick Douglass' name wouldn't come up, as Michaela gave the audience her source material for Sun Without the Heat.